And I will defer to Senator Braun.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Ranking Member. This is indicative of a much bigger problem facing healthcare. You're one small part of it, which looms huge because everyone sooner or later ends up with a prescription, even a vaccination now and then. The issue that most of us are confronted with, if you don't own a healthcare business, is that, I listened carefully to Senator Sanders' opening remarks. You can probably take those as being representative of anyone that wrestles with the healthcare system that does not own a business in the system. It's gotten to be such a huge part of our GDP, unlike anywhere else in the world. You get into something extra normal like we've just gone through, it raises all kinds of issues. And I've been the senator most outspoken on, I think you run like an unregulated utility across the board. You don't embrace competition. You don't embrace transparency. And you're a small part of it. Hospitals now have gotten up to where they're close to 35 to 40% of the healthcare dollar, and that is even harder to find out how much things cost, how it's working. If you're in the business of free enterprise, which I think many on our side make excuses for it, that means no barriers to entry. That means full transparency, full competition, and don't try to business with the federal government and then want more from it when you're not performing well in the first place. Let's look at a narrow issue here. You're claiming that you need more because of the cost of distribution. Well, in any other field, I did it for 37 years, it's very simple. You have a network of distributors, dealers, you don't have PBMs in there that make it confusing. You need an MBA to look at that flow chart. When are you going to start making it easy for all of us to see what things cost and then not look to government when they were part of this formulation in terms of how we got the vaccination and then want more from it? You're involved in a taxpayer, involved in a lawsuit where you've got two smaller companies, Arbutus and Genevant, that are making a claim that you had a patent infringement. I'm hearing that not only here, but patent tweaking, patent infringements when it comes to where we spend even more money on biologics and biosimilars. Point being, whether it's the government paying for it or the private sector, it's a broken system, and you need to get better at it, or you're going to get solutions in the long run that you don't like. Your distribution system. Why is it something that you sound like you got to recreate it? Where's it been up to this point? How do you distribute your flu vaccines? Why do you need this much money? A 400% price increase is preposterous, especially when you've been given all this government largesse, and it's even going to protect you from these lawsuits. What's the nature of your current distribution system to where you can't just put this into it? And why is this that much different from what you've done for years in distributing a flu vaccine? Because it looks like we're headed more to where this is going to be like the flu than it's going to be something extra normal.
Thank you, Senator, for your question. So just to clarify, we do not have a flu vaccine on the market yet. We have one in clinical study. We should have a phase 3 data soon, and hopefully...
You may not have one on the market, but there's a distribution network for them from your competitors. Why wouldn't you be able to get into that? Why do you have to justify creating a new distribution network? No one would ever do that.
So indeed, Senator, we're going to use, but we have to set up a distribution network. I'm not saying that we're going to build our own warehouses like other companies do. We're going to work with companies, but we have to set up those contracts. During the pandemic, we only shipped trucks to 3 warehouses in the US when the CDC was taking the responsibility and the cost of getting the vaccine to hospitals, pharmacies.
So is government requiring you to do something different here that would cause you to use a different network? What do McKesson and Cardinal and the others do? There's a network to get this stuff to pharmacies already in the places they need to go. Why can't you blend it into that, keep the costs down, be a little entrepreneurial in what you're doing?
It's part of a solution we're going to be doing, Senator, is we're going to use existing networks, but we have to set up everything because we never had a commercial product before. We just have to go, which we are doing right now, through all the contracting, negotiating of all those rates and so on, to set up the distribution capability so that we can get the vaccine to pharmacies.
We're about out of time. You cannot as well as the rest of the industry, including hospitals, have the best of both worlds, where you want government to be in there helping you when it's tough, and to where, for the private side, most of us are not happy with the fact that we're lucky if your health insurance plan only goes up 5 to 10%, which incorporates hospitals, pharma, and maybe the Darth Vader of it all, the insurance business. Something's got to give, or you're going to get more government involved in healthcare. Thank you.
Senator Hickenlooper.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Bancel, thank you for coming in and testifying before us. It really is a remarkable, if you look at the arc of what happened, and you look at it, actually take it all the way back to when Moderna was founded in 2010, and you came on board in 2011. I look at so many moments of risk and how many times, I don't want to alarm anyone, but the company could be at risk, and your margins were so thin you didn't have sufficient money to invest. And I think the notion of what the federal government did during a time of crisis, where we made, I think, a decision baked in wisdom to pursue 6 different solutions. Talk about multiple working hypotheses. And in your case, the federal government, BARDA, provided, I think it was $1.7 billion in your statement, you said. And that was money that really was after the earlier investments, which were largely in research. And those are public-private partnerships that money is invested. We do that, the government does that in all different levels. In this case, the $1.7 billion, you actually returned $2.9 billion?
$2.9 billion.
$2.9 billion. What was part of your motivation in that?
Thank you, Senator, for the comments and for the question. It's actually quite simple. As we were starting, so there's really 2 moments during the pandemic in the partnership with the government. First, focus on the vaccine development and accelerate it. That's what BARDA funding provided. Then we started to discuss with the government toward the end of the summer 2020 about purchasing vaccine in case the FDA would approve them. And as we started to have those discussions, we started to discuss with our board. And it became very clear, like 5-minute discussion at a board meeting, that we had to find a way to give the money back to the US government, because we all felt very grateful that thanks to that funding, we were able to accelerate the vaccine. I believe Moderna will have got the vaccine approved without the funding, but it will not have been by the end of the year. So Americans' life will have been impacted by that delay without the support. And so when we looked at it, we're like, if we're going to get the vaccine to work, we should provide a discount. And the board decided in 5 minutes, and that's what I put in my letter that I sent to the government in our first discussions for procurement.
Well, and it'd be an interesting calculation to look at how many lives were saved by accelerating that process with that $1.7 billion that was paid back almost, not quite double, but certainly more than just paying it back. And I am sympathetic to some of the issues as you look at pricing going forward, that this is something that has to be kept at a cold temperature. You're going from one customer to thousands of customers. You're looking at a 90% or 95% reduction in what you're producing. So all your manufacturing is going to have to be reconfigured. And I'm not an expert in pharmaceuticals, so I can't address that. But I think it is a complex issue that we need to spend more time looking at. And in these kinds of public-private partnerships, we want to get to the alignment of interests. And I guess my question is, you can comment on that, but I'd also, what do you think going forward, how can we do a better job of creating these public-private partnerships so that both sides feel they know exactly what they're getting and what's, that there's an alignment of that self-interest?
Thank you, Senator. Actually, the way we think about the price during the pandemic was actually a discount. We are talking here today about an increase in price. But if you think about what happens in any other industry, when you get a very large volume, you get a very big discount. That's actually what we did. We had 500 million dose order from the US government. This year, if we get 30, 50, that would be great. Actually, this year, if you look at analyst consensus, the company might be at a loss this year.
No, and you made that, I get, and I am sympathetic to that. I'm not sure all the other senators are as sympathetic as I am, but we'll have discussions. I do want to get, because I've only got 40 seconds left, and or maybe we'll get an extra 20 seconds. What would you suggest in terms of going forward, in terms of improving public-private partnerships?
Thank you, Senator. I think making sure that the terms are clear. As you know, in enterprise, we are making decisions every day. And what we're trying to do is to allocate our resources to the best projects that we can do. And so I think being clear about what are the rules and making sure that the rules don't change later. That's what is really important. You know, when we discussed about the BARDA funding, there was no discussion about commercial pricing. The focus was accelerate the study, get the vaccine to American people, save lives. And as you said, this was a great return for US taxpayers.
Right. No, again, I think it's, you can't measure the success and the savings. I haven't added it up, but to figure out that discount, how much savings that was, and you know, the benefit to the economy you did mention in your remarks. It's just a remarkable story. So anyway, I feel gratitude that you were there and able to step up and play such an important role in addressing really the worst medical crisis of certainly my lifetime.
Thank you.
Senator Cassidy.
First, I'm going to pass my ranking member seat right now to Senator Mullins while I walk across and ask in another committee, and then I'll defer to Senator Marshall for questioning.
All right. Thank you, Senator Cassidy. Thank you, Chairman. I want to, first of all, submit for the record a couple of op-eds. The first one